Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my book journey. For those of you who have been on my email list or paying attention on social media who were a part of the cover contest poll recently, full of some rudimentary designs, you will know that I am currently in the part of the show where I have to choose a cover for my new book, which is coming out in July of this year. It's about the story of Joseph in Genesis, and it's called Of Sheaves and Stars, it's harder to say than I expected, Of Sheaves and Stars. It's hard to enunciate to let people know what the words actually are. But once you see the cover, you won't forget it. We're almost done, but this process has been extremely difficult on lots of different levels, not just with the cover, but with the whole book. The books that I published in 2021, the David series, sort of came out of nowhere, and it had been sitting in me for a while, but the process of getting that many books out in 1 year really just was a gift from God, and it really just hit me and was there. And it was hard work, but it was different than this one. This one has been a mandate on my life for many, many years, so that's added pressure. And God has been so good. I can't even tell you all the little ways that He has consistently helped me through every roadblock, and this story has taken so many twists and turns to get to where it is today. But that's all the more reason to have a really good cover that represents my vision and the work that I've done on the inside of the book. And so while I was struggling through some roadblocks with the cover, it got me thinking about the different dilemmas that I have faced while writing and editing this book myself and getting it ready for publication with Paper Raven, my publishing company. And I'm going to be referring to my computer here for some tips that I'm going to share with you, because this doesn't just apply to writing, but there's lots of times when with any project you get stuck and you find yourself caught in decision fatigue with a particular dilemma. And this happened several times for me. It happened with the cover, and it happened with deciding what voice to write the story in, because just little secret about writing, just like English does not directly translate into other languages, it changes the meaning a little bit when you translate into other languages and back to English. It's the same with writing. If you change the voice or the tense of a story, it isn't the same story. Maybe the circumstances in the story are the same, the actions and things, but the spirit of the story changes. And so I needed to decide over time, what is it that I actually want to say? And is this the way it needs to be best communicated? And there's a lot of pressure there. I would get stuck lots of times. And, but one of the fun parts is that every time I stopped and prayed, God always gave me a solution. And as I worked through these dilemmas, I would document my process so that I would learn what to do next time I was stuck. And I want to share that with you today. So these are just some questions and exercises that have helped me navigate the swirling vortex of my own emotions and decision fatigue to sort of figure out, what do I really want, what would be best, and why. Always within the context of prayer. That is the ultimate, because that's what gives power to this. Now, this is not in any particular order, but these are just some of the questions that I ask myself when I am in a dilemma. And some of these were actually documented from my experience with the writing and editing the book. And I might make this into like a template that I share with my email list. I don't know. But for now, some of these questions are, if I had to go with this option, what would I want to change, and what would I be willing to accept as is? And the importance of this question is because there's always an opportunity cost. You have to get past the emotions of the decision fatigue and lay that in Jesus's hands, and then just look at it objectively and say, okay, I'm going to have to sacrifice something. What am I willing to accept with each of these options, and what am I willing to change? If someone took the decision out of your hands and chose one of these options for you, how would you feel about that, and why? This is sort of like mental gymnastics, but when you consider if the decision was made for you, that really brings a lot of your feelings to the surface, realizing how you actually feel about different decisions. Another thing that I do is more visualization related. I picture my project with those various outcomes in different contexts in which it'll appear. And I think about, okay, which option is easiest or most pleasant for me to visualize? Like when I picture someone actually reading this book, what does it look like in my mind? What does the cover look like? What am I imagining that they're going to be reading on the inside? Another question I asked myself with the cover was, what were you imagining? What were you picturing in the beginning of this process? And how does that line up with what you're seeing now? And how do you feel about that? Because in the midst of dealing with options as you go forward, it's easy to forget your vision in the beginning. And sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes it's not so good. Sometimes you need to get back to what your original vision was and decide, is it okay that I've evolved in the process, or do I need to get back to my original vision? It's very helpful. Another thing I asked myself is, which result represents my vision most? And the thing is, sort of one of the differences between like amateur writing and mature writing is you need to realize that you have a responsibility not only to make yourself happy, but to the project, to honor the message that you're trying to share. So you need to prayerfully consider, what message am I trying to share? And am I actually sharing that message, or is it evolving into something different? You need to be aware of that. And that's why I was so concerned with the cover, because it needs to be invitational. It needs to be something that sort of indicates to people what the book is going to be about, but also the message and vision of the book before they read the back cover and discover what it's about. This one is kind of a fun one, but you can always do a coin toss and assign different outcomes to different sides, and your reaction about the outcome gives you insight into how you really feel. That's kind of a fun one, but I don't bank too much on that. It was just something to make these times fun because they can be very emotionally charged. But for writing, what I asked myself specifically was, what story am I telling? You know, am I telling a coming of age story? Am I telling, what's the real story here beyond just what happens? What's going on with the character, and what vision am I casting really? What am I excited about? Because this one is very important, because in the midst of like all of the business aspects, you can forget why you're even excited about this. And that's a bad sign. If you're going a certain direction and you're not excited about it at all, that's a bad sign. You need to remind yourself, why am I excited about this particular cover? Why am I excited about writing the book this particular way? You need to remind yourself of that. And if you can honestly say, I'm not excited, maybe that's a sign that that's a bad direction to go. What works about this? Whether it's like choosing between this cover or that cover, or, how you're writing the book, what actually works about it? What's the uniqueness? What makes it stand out from other books? What's the most important selling point? So the specific uniqueness that draws people in. What have been your particular struggles with this particular option? Because it's okay to have struggles, but you need to identify what they are and let yourself decide, is this struggle worth it to me, or do I want to move on to something else? It's not that you're going to have no struggles over here, but they might be different and you might be more willing to put up with them. What is the cost of using this option or losing it? Are you more concerned with using it or losing it? Because there's an opportunity cost with everything. You have to be okay with that as a writer. Consider all the elements together, like what elements need to be present. Like with this cover, I've been considering the elements, like how's it going to work with the title and what's inside the cover. What is God saying about it? Not talking about morality here, like right or wrong, but what is God saying about it? Talk to him about it. How would this sit with your ideal reader? Picture actual people that really like your work and picture what they're going to say about this. Did anything surprise you about working with this particular option? What do you still have to do to it? Like, what kind of work do you still have to do with it if you decide to go this way? Because when you come to a crossroads, you have to make that decision. But what kind of work is going to be on the other side of that crossroads? Which version is most representative of your vision, like we talked about before, and which version do you want to give away? Because there's a lot of aspects of your project that will just be nice memories, like, oh, I remember what it looked like in the beginning. But those might stay private. You might not share those, but what is the one that you want the public to see? What is the one that you want to give away, and why? Now, this video has been a little bit longer than my normal ones, but this is what the process has been like, and these are some of the processes that I use to help myself mentally get out of being stuck, and it has really helped. So whether you're involved in a writing project or not, some of these will transfer over, but the main advice that I would give is to pray and give your emotions to God and get past that to the point where you start to figure out, okay, I'm going to face the problem and figure out what I actually want, what is best for my project, and why. And it's actually easier than you think. And document your own process, because you will have that as a historical thing to look back at next time, and it will make your next struggle a lot easier, I promise you. So thank you for sticking around, and you will be seeing the new cover very soon. Just know that it's represented a lot of work.